Hi, my name is Heather Steak, and this is my reflection video on the identity construction in the media age assignment. The media text that I studied was Radiohead's fourth studio album, Kid A. Personally, I really enjoy Radiohead. I enjoy their music. I think it's very groundbreaking and very experimental. And Kid A obviously was an album that I really stuck onto. It was something that I really enjoyed, and I always find myself keep coming back to it. So in this video, I'll be talking about that, how I researched it, what I found out about it, and also what identity construction really means today in our modern society. So first, the fundamental questions that we should really start off with is, what is identity construction? What does it mean today in our modern society? Well, identity means that it's a state of being for a specific person or a thing, right? And identity is very complex. It makes you, right? It's your personality, and it's what defines you out of so many different people. It's the things that you like, the things that you don't like, the movies that you watch, the music you listen to, the films that you watch, the TV, all the genres that you enjoy. And identity is so complex, and how media affects us in today's society was very interesting to me, because media is all around us. It bombards us. It's everywhere. And we live in a very technological age, so with the progression of technology, with phones, tablets, computers, media has been so much easier to infect and control our lives, basically, right? Whenever we open up our phone, we're listening to music, we're listening to podcasts, we're looking at news, we're looking at advertisements, we're watching YouTube videos. All of this media contributes to what makes us us. It's the things that we consume. It's how much. And since technology is so fast, we're consuming more media each and every day. And I found this really interesting, right? For example, music. I listen to music a lot in my daily life. For example, 3 to 4 hours a day is dedicated to listening to music. I like to wake up. First, I check my phone, social media feed. That's, media. Again. And it's influencing my life, right? But then when I go on the bus, I listen to music. When I go anywhere where I have to walk, I'll listen to music. Before I go to sleep, I listen to music. So again, as humans, I think in today's society, we're being trained to just intake so much media, and that in turn influences how we think and what we like indefinitely, realistically. And with media, and identity identity is so complex, and it's something that, Catherine Hamley said that it changes over time, and media is a big influencer of that, right? Media allows us to change what we like, to change how we think, and that's through the various messages, the various subtext, the text. And once you really deconstruct and analyze this, you find that media is so complex and it's so intertwined with our lives that we just simply can't escape it. So this was the first time doing any project like this. I've never really looked at media that much. Sure, in my previous year, we looked at overt messages and implied messages, and I kind of deconstructed a bit of advertisements, but I've never done like a full album, and something that I really enjoy. Now, I chose Radiohead because, again, they're one of my favorite artists, and I chose Kid A because I keep coming back to that album. And the album's overarching themes of environment and mental health, especially. Mental health is really important to me because I've struggled, with mental health itself, with, some of my deepest, darkest moments occur in my mind. And coming back to this album, it always helps because, I didn't know that the subject matter of the album was so heavily intertwined with mental health, and that helps construct my identity of what it means to be me in the modern society, right? When I was researching this album, what stood out to me is that Tom York, the main lead vocalist of Radiohead, he suffered a mental breakdown before this album. With all the fame and acclaim of OK Computer, which was released in 1997, after the band stopped touring, he suffered a mental breakdown. He just couldn't take it anymore. He thought the band was just he thought that the media thought that they were a one-trick band, that this was all that they could do. And York, he didn't want that. And after 3 years, after controlling himself, the album presents his mental struggles in such a beautiful way, right? It sounds weird when I say it, but it's beautiful, because when you listen to the album, you hear all those struggles, but it's not like someone talking to you. It's sweet, it's intimate, it's very intimate actually, because York is singing to you and you hear all those elements of music. You hear, for example, when I was looking at the recording of the music, I saw that they use a lot of electronic instruments in the first three tracks especially. Without even, first listening to the first three tracks, you look at the cover art, and the cover art seems something out of, something a robot would process, but it has human qualities to it, because it's of a mountain range, but all the pictures are distorted, and it makes you feel uneasy. It makes you feel that this is going to be something experimental, because it doesn't look human, right? And once you first enter everything in its right place, you don't know what to expect. At first, it's so confusing, it's so jarring. That's what I felt like when I first listened to it. But as I grew up, as now I'm a 17-year-old, so I can really understand what Radiohead is doing at the time, because I feel like I'm part of that target audience. You hear those icy synthesizers that first come, it sets the whole tone of the album, and when you hear York's distorted vocals, then it clicks. You understand that, this is talking about his struggles. It's talking about how much he struggled after the success of OK Computer, and what it took to get him to this point, and what it took for the whole band to make this whole album. And from the lyrics as well, like, there are two colors in my head. That could mean that he's thinking on one side, he's thinking on the other side. Those two thoughts are racing in his mind. So that theme of mental health it's really important to me, especially because I've gone through it and everything. So having that as something I can always go back to, having Tom York intimately talk about these topics, when I'm listening to it, I feel like I'm transported into another world. I can just relax, and knowing someone that has went through the same thing puts me at ease. It honestly does. It makes me feel at ease. It makes me feel all right, that everything is going to be all right. And sometimes everything could be against me. It feels like me against the world, right? But this album, it helps to change that. It helps to change my perspective on that, and it's how it's influenced my identity. It's influenced it because I've constructed what I wanted from this album to, change myself, change how I view things. And I've connected with this album, right? This album's purpose was to entertain, because as an album, it's supposed to make money, and it's supposed to entertain the people that of Radiohead's fans. And of course, I'm a fan, but I've connected this album more than probably anyone else has listened to it, because I find the problems that York was having, I find the same problems in my own life. So having that, human to human connection, when you're always listening to an artist, you want to be in that personal life of the artist who's creating it. And having York explain all these things, and looking to the messages, looking at the subtext, understanding what each different lyric means, understanding how they constructed the music, understanding how all the electronic aspects, all the environmental, the subtext, the messages, how that all intertwines and goes into an album. For an experience wise, this was the best thing that I could pick, because it's something that I relate to, and it's something that I connect to fondly. So the media text that I chose for this assignment was Radiohead's Kid A, and I love this album. I think it's a great album. I would recommend you listening to it. However, get into Radiohead's previous stuff first, like OK Computer. That's technically their magnum opus, their perfect album. It's immaculate. But if you want to get into, Kid A, listen to their older stuff first. You'll get a feel of that alternative sort of, post-modern rock that they were doing at the time. And then when you listen to Kid A, you need to have really an open mind. You can't have a narrow mind. You can't have a closed mind, because it's experimental all the way. But, when you understand, when it clicks, then it'll make all the sense, all the lyrics will make sense, and this album I think will be your favorite out of their discography. Thank you.